Thank you for staying with us and welcome back on Punchline. For those who are joining us right now today, I'm speaking to Lawyer Kakai Kissinger, who's a constitutional lawyer and also serves in the BBI National Secretariat, just to discuss matters BBI moving forward. And even as now we've presented the signatures to the IEBC, what does it mean? So, Kakai, before the break, you were talking about how the document solves the issue of inclusivity, and part of this inclusivity debate begins right now at this stage that we are in. We have those who are not for the document. The DP and his team are asking that there needs to be more consensus, but you have the Secretariat also mentioning that there is no room for consensus now that even the signatures have already been presented to the IEBC. Now, a lot of Kenyans might get lost in this conversation that you and I get to have in such platforms. So as a constitutional lawyer, what does it mean? Is there room to edit those clauses once these signatures have already been submitted to the IEBC?
BBI has been with us for the last 2 good years. So matters of consensus have been taking place for the last 2 years. Yes. It didn't just begin today. So for the last 2 years, remember when there was a task force and eventually a steering committee, all those were issues of consensus, and Kenyans were involved in terms of bringing up these things and discussing and so forth and so on. So I do recall that the Secretariat at the time, the task force at the time, went into all the 47 counties. And come March, when COVID then broke out, then the remaining aspects were dealt at the Secretariat, whereby they were receiving these documents from all the county governments and all opinion leaders and churches and faith groups and civil society. So everybody actually participated at that time. Now, post KICC, the document was now complete in terms of what all these people wanted included on consensus had taken place. As we speak right now, from where I sit and being a lawyer, I do not see now any room for any other consensus on matters BBI. Why? Is because 2 days ago, you all realized the Secretariat, the BBI National Secretariat, now received the total number of signatures, which is 5.5 million actually, and now this 4.5 million were received, and out of this 4.5 million, they were now taken to IEBC. Now, that now becomes a situation whereby even the Secretariat itself has handed over these documents as per the law to IEBC, and now it's an IEBC process to take over. So where we are right now is that already the legal process of counting time as per the Constitution has already begun, because right now IEBC is already working and verifying those signatures. So there will be no more discussions. The bill is already out there, and by the way, I brought for you a copy of the bill, so I'll give you at the end of the session so that you can also read and understand this bill. So I brought some copies for you. So the bill is already with IEBC. Yeah. It's now up to IEBC to tell Kenyans when they are going to finish verifying these signatures, how many signatures are now valid in terms of people who have registered to be voters and who signed, and what are the next steps. Because IEBC is now supposed to take this bill to county assemblies, to the 47 county assemblies. And there's a time frame in which they have to do that, and it has to be discussed within the county assemblies within 3 months and brought back to IEBC. IEBC takes to the 2 houses and so forth. So there's a legal process of doing it. So I don't think there's any other room for discussing the bill. Yes. As of now, things are now is either you are supporting the bill as a Kenyan, you are either opposing the bill. If you are supporting the bill, then of course there will be a referendum, and it's a constitutional right to do what you want to do. But what I know is for sure that there's a lot of massive civic education that has been taking place for the last 2 years. And the BBI National Secretariat is still doing this civic education ongoing in terms Kissinger, of teaching. So it's safe to say, from a constitutional perspective, as a constitutional lawyer, what you're trying to say and tell the people calling for more consensus, that the window is shut? Yes, the window is shut. It's now in the hands of IEBC. The legal process has already begun. There were 2 years in which to bring issues of consensus, issues of discussions. Now the 2 years is over. And remember, there has to be a point when things must shut. Yes. And once things shut, you have to go ahead. You either like it or you don't like it. And it's a constitutional right. You know, one of the things that the 2010 Constitution did, it says, for you to bring in a similar thing in terms of a referendum, you must follow the legal requirements laid under Article 255, Article 256, and 257. And it tells you all we need is 1 million signature.
Yes.
Once you bring 1 million signature, we verify that the 1 million are registered voters, then we will allow you to go ahead with that initiative. Number two, it tells you, the law itself tells you, that those 1 million must actually come from at least 24 counties. So we have 47 counties, and we're looking at a simple majority of 24 counties. So once you get the 1 million scattered in between the 24 counties, you are good to go in terms of initiating that process. So the law itself, the constitution itself, says not everybody must agree that a referendum must take place. Yes. So there's that room or window for people saying democracy is a negotiated process.
Okay. Now, let me just, as we continue to wind up on this conversation, I just want to engage you on a random question, and it's something that has been proposed by the other side, and it's also good to get your perspective as a lawyer in the game right now. In one of the previous interviews, we had the Deputy President mention that the experts, which I believe in this case are you, the lawyers, there is a way you can package this whole referendum issue and have it as a multiple referendum. I'm always still asking this question, is this a possibility, and is it something that should be employed?
You know, what is the level of literacy in Kenya?
Yes.
The level of literacy in Kenya, the last I checked, is about 80 to 81%, meaning that 80 to 81% of Kenyans understand and can read and write. Now, an election is also not only for those who read and understand, but it's also for those who don't read and understand. Yes. So if you have, let's say, 80%, if my statistics is right, those who can read and understand, meaning they can take a document, read that document, and answer the question as is required, that's good enough. But then what are you going to be doing with this 20% who can read, who can write? Now, an election is not for the elite. An election is for every single Kenyan. As long as you are a Kenyan, that election is a fundamental right that you are given by Katiba, and nobody can take it away. Meaning that an election should just not focus on the 80% who have gone to school, but should also look at the 20% who have never gone to school. Now, my grandmother, who is 78 years old, or my grandfather, who is now 82 years old, how can he go to an election and receive a multiple choice questions and be expected to answer them? Even if you came up with a system whereby IEBC is given power to assist, because the law allows assisted voting, even if you allowed IEBC to assist this, 20% of Kenyans who have never been to school have a lot of chances to read and not understand this thing. So my understanding will be, what is then the internationally recognized standard? We have to recognize one thing, that yes, some countries have allowed multiple choice questions. Canada, for example, in 1993 and 1998, did a referendum where they allowed multiple choice questions. Australia have done this kind of referendum where they have allowed multiple choice questions. But then these countries are so advanced that they are able to mark and understand where the process is going. Kenya, with the current IEBC, cannot handle a situation whereby you ask multiple choice questions. We have done referendums before in Kenya. We had a 2005 referendum. You all remember the orange and the banana. It's just a yes or no. A referendum is supposed to be very simple and verifiable.
Yes.
If you look at the last Supreme Court decision that on election, it said an election is a process and that process must be simple and verifiable. So a referendum is a mini election. It should be simple and verifiable. So my understanding as a constitutional lawyer, you need to have a referendum question framed in a way that, do you agree, for example, that you pass the bill as packaged? Because this bill is going in as a package. So someone will then know that, yes, I agree or I don't agree. That's why the online platform of the BBI bill was, you had only to sign after you have read the bill, meaning, therefore, that you confirmed you have read the bill and you have signed. So to answer your question, it will be completely impossible to have a referendum with multiple choice questions in a country like Kenya, where 20% of us cannot read and write.
Oh, what you're trying to say from this particular feedback that you've just given me is that those who are calling for these proposals and this consensus, they're basically delaying this whole process for their own interest.
Yeah, they could be delaying the whole process for their own interest, or they don't understand the dynamics of an election, because an election is all about not disenfranchising anybody. Yes. Everybody must participate in an election. 78 years old, you should be able to go there. Can you imagine if it's 7 questions then you can't even read and write, then you have a thumbprint going through. It's completely tedious. It's not logical. Right. It is not easy. How will IEBC deal with that kind of thing? How will you percolate who agrees, who doesn't agree? How do you then? It's just very difficult.
Fair enough. Now, you've mentioned how IEBC is going to deal with this particular issue. Let's get to the IEBC. When the Secretariat presented the signatures, the chairman, Chebukati, mentioned that they have the signatures with them. All they're waiting for right now is a budget from the National Assembly to foresee this process through. So I just want to ask you, even considering the situation and the constitution of the IEBC as we speak right now, are they ready to hold that referendum come next year?
I think we've had challenges with the IEBC, and people have had issues with the IEBC. But then when our 2 chairmen, Honorable Junet Mohammed and Honorable Waweru, when they submitted these referendum signatures 3 days ago, IEBC assured them that they are able to do it. And remember, IEBC has 3 commissioners at the moment, so legally they are bound to do this referendum. I think one of the best issues that IEBC has is an excellent staff personnel who are able to do this kind of thing. When we took their personnel, I went to IEBC inside the offices, and they immediately put up a team, and they were already working on the verification process. So yes, we hope that IEBC will do what is required of them to do, because it's their constitutional right, it's their legal issues to deal with what they are supposed to do. That's why they're in that office, to do what they're supposed to do. Issues of budget, whether they have money, they don't have money, is an internal and administrative thing between IEBC and the Treasury. Yes. That should be something that they have to deal with. But what is their constitutional mandate? Their constitutional mandate is to manage election. They have a referendum pending. They have to deal with those signatures, confirm that out of the 4.5 million signatures that BBI Secretariat were able to get, that number has been approved, confirm that they meet the threshold of holding a referendum because they have achieved the 24 counties, then announce the date when that referendum will do. That's purely an administrative position or an administrative work that IEBC will do, which is also constitutional in nature. Yes. These other dynamics, they must be able to do it.
All right. Let's talk about those signatures that were presented to the IEBC. You've mentioned about 4.5 million votes presented to the IEBC by the Secretariat, and this therefore means that quite a number of people have accepted this document, which is vis-a-vis what we're seeing on different platforms where people are saying we will reject this document at the referendum. This is not something we want. So it's kind of contradictory. You serve in the National Secretariat. Just kindly break it down. How did the signature collection pan out across the 47 counties?
You know, one of the things that we've been saying,
yes,
as a Secretariat, even when it was established, is that there has been massive civic education.
Yes.
That's one thing you cannot take away from the Secretariat. Secretariat has partnered with every Tom, Dick, and Harry in this country to do massive civic education. I also happen to be one of the persons in charge of outreach at the Secretariat. I can tell you, so much is being done in terms of trainings. Yes. And sensitizing Kenyans on this document. Because there's a lot of misinformation out there about this BBI. What an ordinary person knows about BBI is not actually what is in this document we are calling the bill itself. Yes. So we've been doing a lot of civic education. And civic education is still ongoing. We've gone to social media. Panelists have been talking about it. Our friendly politicians have been talking about BBI. We've been going to churches talking about BBI. We've been all over with BBI. We've been branding ourselves, sharing information on social media and everywhere that anyone wants to take care of and read about it. Even you, as media houses, you've been told about BBI. So what we are saying is that to get 4.5 million signatures within 1 week is not a joke. And this, we must give credit to the Secretariat, what they did. They went out there, they mapped the country, they went in all the 47 counties in this country.
Yes.
We were able within 1 week to get that kind of number of signatures. So it means many people are aware of the BBI process. Why? It's because this has been taking place for the last 2 years. This last week was just now the final whistle that, look, guys, this is the thing, sign.
Okay.
So this has been because of massive, massive civic education, which will go on until the referendum time.
All right. Fine. Let me engage you on something interesting. So last week, about a week or 2 weeks ago, we saw the Deputy President give his address and his stand on the BBI and what they wanted to be included in the document. And in that particular address, we saw quite a number of politicians attending that place, who basically just means it was a clear show that they have the numbers. When you come to the signature collection process, kindly just break it down. How was the signature collection process in Rift Valley, which is backyard of the Deputy President?
Signature collection, I don't know why we should only zero in onto the Rift Valley.
Yes.
Because Rift Valley is a Rift Valley. Kajiado, for example, is in the Rift Valley. So I don't know what we mean by Rift Valley. But whatever it is, we were targeting every single county in this country. So to the best of my knowledge, the Rift Valley has very many counties in it. And the modus of operandi, how we did the signature collection, was all across same. In the sense that the Secretariat mapped out every single county and they were there collecting signatures. So the issue of signature collection, I will not zero in a specific region or a specific county, but was massive in the sense that we were out there telling Kenyans, collect signatures, sign, this is the report. Sensitization was going on. And Kenyans, by the way, the 80%, remember when I began my talk, I said we have 80% literacy level. Yes. The 80% of Kenyans had been following BBI. The 80% of Kenyans knew what BBI is. I will, for example, personally go and train some legislators or governors, senators, and so forth, and they'll ask you questions. But when you go to the village market, a village somewhere in a county, and you're training them, the ordinary Mamanboga, Baba Omta, Baba Masanduku, and so forth and so on, were also asking questions. The normal border rider was asking questions. The 80% of Kenyans who are well informed are extremely well informed. So that process of signature collection was based on the fact that civic education had taken place. We were in counties. We were collecting these signatures. There was no time. People were willing to come out in large numbers and sign the register of signatures. Okay,
Kakai, I believe you have ducked my question a bit, but that's fair enough. You've still provided us with the feedback. So just as we wind up, I believe I have right about 60 seconds. Parting shot. As we move forward, the BBI is coming, the referendum is coming. What are we expecting in 2021? Keep it short. 60 seconds, please.
First and foremost, the greatest thing we have to thank this country for is we have to thank God for having given us President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, who has, I think, turned the whole of misfortunes in this country into a BBI process. We have to thank retired Prime Minister, former Prime Minister, for who he is, because those are the kind of two people that we actually need. Based on that, going forward, we will never as a country, ever as a country, sit in our houses after election and lock ourselves there, wondering, am I going to die? Am I going to be represented? How am I going to walk out? We will, as a country, after the election, move on, because the issues of inclusivity has been taken care of, the issues of divisive election has been taken care of. Everybody will feel to be part of that election. All right. Ghana has gone through an election the other day, and they're moving on. Kenya, if it was our time, will be suffering. BBI now is saying it is the end. Election day, the following day, we are all happy. So we thank God for the two leaders that brought BBI to us.
Okay, thank you very much for making time for us right on Punchline. Truly appreciated.
Thank you very much.
All right, that was Kakai Kissinger just providing more light and shedding more light, pardon me, on this matter pertaining to the BBI, and even as the Secretariat has already